guys, good morning. Welcome to the last 3D market commentary of the week for Friday. My name's Becky. My email address is there, becky@tradictive.com. So you can email me if you have any questions. I'm not going to put the camera on today as I would normally. I'm having some issues with that this morning, so hopefully that's okay. You guys can hear my voice and we'll go through everything that we normally go through. Now, before we do that, I'm just going to put the disclaimers up there that are being highlighted, should be being highlighted. There we go. It's obviously important for you guys to read the disclaimers to understand them. Basically what we're saying there is that we do demonstrations of how we use the technology and how we use the methodology. Ultimately, it's up to you to decide whether or not you want to take it on board, whether or not you want to ignore it, or if you want to take bits of it or whatever you do with that. So ultimately up to you. We are doing a demonstration. Okay, so we have this link here, tradewithufos.com/Becky. Now I'm just going to take you to that and just explain why I'd like you to use that link. So there's two reasons. Number one, what I'm about to go through, which is a 3D market commentary, is where we go through 5 of the major markets in the world and we discuss the technology that we use and methodology that we have to help us understand where the probabilities lie for those markets. Now, in order to get that email every day, sort of a summary of what I'm about to go through, you need to have a free membership. So in order to get a free membership, you can go to tradewithufos.com/Becky, which will bring you to this. Once you're here, you can literally just set up a free membership here, put in your full name and email address, click for the next steps and go from there. Now, what it also does is you can scroll down, and once you've got a free membership, you can sign in here. Once you can sign in there, you can ask questions in a public setting. So say, for example, here, we have people that have already asked questions and the answer is there in public as well if you were to click on them. So that's a good thing because it means that rather than you send an email and maybe wait a day or two for a response, you can just come here and perhaps the answer is already there. Or perhaps the question that you have isn't already there, but you ask it here. And other people can learn from the answer. So it's helpful for everybody if we ask questions and answer them in a public setting so that we can all learn. But if you really need to, totally fine, you can email me, becky@tradictive.com. Okay, so like I said, once you've set up a free membership, which you can do at the top here, tradewithufos.com/Becky and do it at the top there, then you will get automatically this email every day. So we send this news flash out every day. Now, what the information that's on this email correlates obviously with what's in the charts. So I'm going to go through and just expand and explain where we get that information from, what it means for those of you that might be maybe newer to trading, newer to us, newer to this technology, or maybe you've been out of it a while or you just want to recap. That's why we do this, so that you can understand what this sort of 3D capture means, what we're going through on this email. So it's called 3D. I've used that phrase a few times now. Why do we call it 3D? It's because we go through 3 major elements in each of these markets. So the first one is market climate. Market climate is what we see down here. That's our Auto Climate app, which is telling us what the market climate is. Essentially what the Auto Climate app is doing is telling us whether we have probabilities to the upside, to the downside, or nowhere. So again, helps us figure out whether or not we should be long or short, or do nothing. Sometimes that's the answer. So it will come back and it will show us either thick blue dots, that tells us we have a confirmed upwards climate, which tells us we have probability to the upside. It may give us thick red dots, that tells us we have probability to the downside. It can come back with thin dots of either colour. Slightly harder to see, but that's kind of the point, I guess. The thin dots of either colour tell us that we don't have probabilities either way, so we do nothing. So again, we're going to understand this for each of these major markets that we go through. Now, each of these markets are daily charts, which means obviously different things happen in different time frames. If you use bigger time frames or smaller time frames, of course things might be different. But as far as these markets go, we're looking at a daily chart. Okay, so we look at market climate, that's one element. We then look at buy and sell UFOs. UFO stands for unfilled order. What that means is there are buy orders in the markets and sell orders in the markets that are waiting. They're not yet filled. Now, if lots of buy orders come into the market, if they're waiting and price gets to it, if lots of buying comes in, it's likely to push price up. Same is true for sell orders. If there's lots of sell orders and price gets to that area, those sell orders, if there's a lot of them, are likely to push price down. So again, we use technology here to help us. We use the AutoUFO app that highlights for us on the chart where we have a range of price, so it will tell us price on the right hand side, where we have a range of price where there are likely to be the buy orders or sell orders. If there are buy orders, then the UFO will be green in this case. If there are sell orders, then the UFO will be red, and I'll show you that in a minute. So again, we're looking at AutoClimate to figure out where we have probabilities up or down or nowhere, and then we're looking at AutoUFOs to figure out exactly where we have probabilities of price being pushed up or pushed down. So once we've looked at those, we're then going to look at market volatility for each market. Market volatility essentially tells us the risk and reward, because it's telling us how quickly price will move. If price moves very quickly, then the risk is higher, but sometimes the reward is higher. Price moves very slowly, sometimes the risk is lower and the reward is lower. So it gives us an idea of what we can expect in terms of movement within given periods of time. So we'll look at that per market as well. So that's why it's a 3D approach, looking at these three major elements of the markets. Where do we have our probabilities? Exactly where are we likely to see those turning points? And what can we expect in terms of movement? So that's what we're going through for each market, and we will start with the S&P. So just to say, each of the markets that we go through are futures markets, or they're futures contracts that we're looking at. If you don't know what futures are, essentially they are a representation of other markets. So for the case of the S&P 500 is the top 500 US stocks, and the ES is the futures contract that represents it. Essentially, we are looking at a representation of the US stock market for this first market. Okay, so when it comes to climate for the S&P, we have a current downwards climate, and we are on number 1 of a usual 3.01. Now, just to say, current downwards climate, we know that because we have a thick red dot on our auto climate. So that's telling us probabilities there to the downside. Now, what do these numbers mean? Usually, this market would come down for 3.01 candles. I'm just going to round that up. I know it's 3.01, but I'm going to round it up to 4 because you can't have decimal places of a candle, right? You either have a candle or you don't. So I'm rounding that up to 4. So usually this market would go down for 4 candles, and we're on candle number 1, which means we have probability of a continuous move down based on what usually happens. That's what that means. So that's climate. When it comes to buy and sell UFOs, obviously we have no sell UFOs above us, not very much data above us, so the AutoUFO app cannot come back with any sell orders if they aren't there. So no sell orders above us on this time frame. Buy orders, we have this one here, which numbers for that are 3878.75 to 3796.25. That's where we have a big stack of buy orders between those price ranges. So that's the buy and sell UFOs. When it comes to market volatility, we expect movement up or down in one day of 52.03 points. In 1 week, up or down of 114.53 points. And in 1 month, up or down of 238.42 points. So again, that's what we expect in terms of movement up or down within these given periods of time. It's not necessarily going to be that exactly, just gives us an idea of the type of movement that we expect and how volatile we expect this to be. When it comes to the climate and AutoUFOs, we'll use those to help us figure out in which direction we're most likely to see this movement. In the case of the S&P at the moment, we have a confirmed downwards climate, probability to the downside, but we have buy orders in the way. So what's likely to happen is price comes down in some form, hits the buy orders, and then will react and go up. So we have two competing forces here, climate versus orders. So I don't really want to get involved in the middle of that. I'd rather have things lining up in my favour. In this case, we have things kind of going against each other. So overall with the S&P, I'd say kind of undecided there. Okay, so moving on to the next market. In the meantime, just to say, whilst I'm loading this market, you'll see there it will say looking to educate yourself. So again, you might be somebody that's already taken our classes. Maybe you've already been trading for a long time and you don't need to take classes. No problem. Maybe you just watch these because you're already using the technology and it helps you out a little bit. Otherwise, you might be somebody that thinks, I've been trading stocks for a while and we're looking at futures contracts. How does futures work? Maybe I want to trade futures. You might be somebody that thinks, I've never traded anything before. Maybe I want to learn how to trade Forex or stocks, or maybe I want to understand about how to build a trade plan, how to backtest it, or how trading psychology works. So you can register for courses through that link there, or you can go to the website. And then for most of the courses, you actually have 3-month complimentary access to the apps. AutoClimate by itself actually is simply a free app anyway. You can download that for free once you have your free membership. But the AutoUFOs are a paid for service. Depending on which platform you use depends on the price. I'll explain that a bit later. But you get them for free for 3 months along with most of the courses. So just so you know that. Okay, so oil. Let's have a look at what's going on with oil. So we have, and this is exactly what we thought would happen, because yesterday we'd seen that oil had been going up for longer than is usual. So we were expecting that we would more likely have a change of direction, and that's what we saw. So with crude oil, we have a confirmed downwards climate. We see that from a thick red dot. And again, that's something that we would have expected considering what we saw yesterday, a change in climate. So confirmed downwards climate. Now, usually this market would go down for 8 candles. Again, I'm rounding that up. And we're on candle number 1, which means, again, we have probability of a continuous move to the downside based on what normally happens. Now, that's not to say that these markets exactly go down by that amount. It's an average. It gives us what is probable, what is likely, not what is definite. So, of course, we may fall short of what is normal. We may go past what is normal. The important thing here is to understand what is expected overall so that we can have an idea of whether or not we have continuous probabilities. In this case, based on what usually happens, we do have continuous probabilities there to the downside. With buy and sell UFOs, we have sell UFOs here. That's 63.60 to 66.40. That's where we have sell orders. Again, red UFOs are sell orders. Buy orders are here, 57.29 to 54.81. Now again, that's where we have buy orders. At the moment, we're closer to the buy orders than we are to the sell orders. That's where price is now, but kind of in between the two. Overall probability there to the downside because of the climate. Okay, now market volatility. We would expect movement up or down in 1 day of 1.86 points. In 1 week, we would expect movement up or down of 4.10 points. And in 1 month, we would expect movement up or down of 8.53 points. So again, that's movement up or down. Overall, we would use the climate and the UFOs to help us figure out in which direction. At the moment, we have probability there to the downside. Bear in mind, we do have buy orders potentially in the way if we were to hit them, but we're maybe a day or 2 away from hitting them if we were to move to the downside. Okay, so moving on to the next market. Again, in the meantime, just to say, as I said, the AutoClimate app is free, so you can download this one for free once you have your free membership. The AutoUFO app, you can subscribe through that link or again go to the website. Depending on which platform you use depends on the cost. For TradingView, which is the one I'm using here, the cost for that is $34 a month. And you can get yearly discounts as well. So again, if you're just thinking, I just want the apps, I don't want the courses, or I don't want the coaching, I just want to use the technology, you can do that. If you've taken a class and maybe your 3 months has run out and you want to continue with the apps, that's how you do it. Or maybe you want to continue the coaching and be able to place the trades that we are and see what we're seeing. And again, you can use the apps for that. Okay, moving on to the next market, which is gold. Let's have a look. Okay. So gold, I'm just going to squidge it a little bit here so we see more what we need to see. Gold is a situation where we have a lack of probability either way because we have an unconfirmed climate. We have a thin dot here. Doesn't really matter that it's blue. The fact that it's thin is telling us that we don't have enough probabilities either way. So if we don't have probabilities either way, best to do nothing. No point placing a trade for the sake of placing it if it means that we're likely to, waste money and waste time. So overall with gold, no probabilities really either way. Now just to highlight where the buy and sell UFOs are, again we're in between them at the moment. We have sell UFOs here, which is 1815.2 to 1782.2, and then we have buy orders here at 1652.8 to 1624.4. And again, we're in between these buy and sell UFOs, not really close enough to either of them for them to create impact today. Again, may happen, but it's unlikely. Of course, new orders can come to the markets and change things, but at the moment with gold, we have an unconfirmed climate and we're not close to either stack of orders. So again, overall, no probabilities in any case, really. When it comes to volatility, we would expect movement up or down in 1 day of 19.46 points. In a week, up or down of 42.84 points, and in 1 month, up or down of 89.19 points. Okay, so that is gold. Let's move on to the next market. And again, in the meantime, just a reminder here, we have coaching services available where you can watch us, use this methodology in much more depth and explain what we're doing start to finish on different markets, all assets, options, stocks, futures, forex. And we also do coaching sessions on psychology and sharpening as well. You can join us in the coaching. It's only $21 a month, or again, you can have yearly discounts. And again, we also do things for free on YouTube. So if you're watching us on YouTube now, you can have a look at the YouTube channel and see the other kind of sessions that we do for free, where you can get a lot of information, again, available for free. Dollar or not, or whether you trade in US markets or not, be aware of what the dollar does. It is responsible for about 80% of transactions worldwide every single day. So it is important that we keep on top of what's happening there with the dollar. Now, with the dollar, we have a confirmed upwards climate. We see that from our thick blue dot here, confirmed upwards climate. And usually this market would go up for 5 candles, and we're on candle number 1. We'd move up. Now, that's what we thought might happen yesterday because we just hit a stack of buy orders again. When you hit buy orders, it's likely to push price upwards. Not always, but again, that's what statistics would tell us. So not surprising that we changed to a confirmed upwards climate there. So when it comes to buy and sell UFOs, we have a stack of buy orders here that we've just hit. The range of price for that, 91.405 to 90.635. And again, price came in, hit the UFO, went up, came in, hit the UFO and went up. That's what we expect UFOs to do. Closest stack of sell orders is up here, which is 94.33 to 93.245. So again, with the dollar, overall probability to the upside. We have a confirmed upwards climate with probability that it continues. We have buy orders below us that we've just reacted to, pushing us up, and sell orders a little way away. So we have everything lined up in our favour here for a move to the upside. Now, that's not to say that that's definite. That's to say that it's likely or that it's more probable. Nothing is certain in life, definitely not in the markets. Of course, unexpected things happen. We still manage our risk, but we want to make sure that if we're placing trades, we're placing them where the probabilities lie. So overall, with the dollar, probability to the upside. Okay, so when it comes to market volatility, we expect movement up or down in 1 day of 0.83 points, in 1 week up or down of 0.84 points, and in 1 month up or down of 1.74 points. So again, that's what we expect in terms of movement on the dollar. So let's move to the next market, or the last market, which is Bitcoin. Again, just to say, you can follow us on YouTube if you might already be watching this on YouTube, which means you're already there. So take a look at the other sessions that we do and the other things that we offer in terms of the coaching sessions for free there on YouTube. Okay, so Bitcoin. Now, Bitcoin, we have a confirmed upwards climate. We see that because we have a thick blue dot here. Now, what we don't know with Bitcoin is what is usual. It's not been around long enough for us to, on these sort of bigger time frames. You might see this on smaller time frames, but for this time frame and above, it's just not been around long enough for us to have the data to say what usually happens. It would be kind of a stab in the dark to make up that number. So kind of in the dark with that. We know that we are on candle 10 to the upside, but of course, you know, this market has shown that it can go up for a long time before it stalls for a little bit. So overall probability to the upside there with Bitcoin, but bear in mind, again, we are in the dark there as to whether or not that's likely to continue. Buy and sell UFOs, we have buy orders just here, 52,600 or 52,600 to 49,602.5. And again, you'll notice no sell orders above us, nothing there. It's kind of because we're almost at all-time highs, right? So no sell orders above us at the moment. So overall probability there to the upside for Bitcoin, but bear in mind we're in the dark when it comes to the stats. In terms of volatility, we would expect movement up or down in 1 day of 3,782.06. In 1 week, we would expect movement up or down of 8,325.83. And in 1 month, we would expect movement up or down of 17,331.59. So again, volatility is neither good or bad. It can increase risk, but it can also increase reward. What volatility tells us is what we expect in terms of movement up or down within these given periods of time. So with Bitcoin, we expect greater movement than we would on other markets. So just be aware of that. It's not good or bad. It's just going to be more volatile than the more sort of standard counterparts, I guess. Just the nature of cryptocurrency. So be aware of it. That brings me to my last point about the weekly economic calendar. We look at the FX Street economic calendar and we filter by high impact news. We don't necessarily care what the news is. We don't use this to help us figure out whether or not we buy or sell. We're using technology and data and statistics to do that. That's the way we approach the markets. But we want to understand if there's likely to be high impact news that could cause volatility on the markets that we trade. So you'll see here all the different markets that we trade, all the different countries. So again, if you trade stocks within those countries, or if you trade Forex, or maybe commodities that are linked to those countries, be aware if there's going to be high impact news that could come out and affect the markets that you're trading. Again, higher volatility normally means higher risk, higher reward. So it may be that you choose to keep away from the higher risk. It may be that you choose to still trade, but reduce the amount of trades that you place or the risk that you put on per trade in the face of the upcoming volatility. So just be aware of that on the calendar. Okay, so just to round up, of course you might be watching this thinking that you have questions or thinking, I don't know which course I want to do, or I want to use the apps, but maybe I'll just use the auto climate, or maybe I'll use UFOs, maybe I'll use both, I don't know. The coaching, what is that about? What's different for that versus YouTube? What are the different memberships? What do I get as part of the free membership? If you have any kind of question like that, you can self-schedule a clarification call. One of our experts will go through that with you, talk to you about what you trade and what you should be trading based on your profile, and then figure out from there what you may need from us, if anything. Any other questions that you have, you can come to tradewithufos.com/Becky. You can set yourself up a free membership, and then you can ask questions here in a public space so that other people can see the answer. Also, you can use this link to set yourself up with a free membership to get the let's just bring it up again, to get this email every day that has these 5 major markets in the world, that are climate, buy and sell UFOs, market volatility, and then those links to the other things in there as well. So that is me done. So hopefully you guys have had a good trading week. Hopefully today is a nice round off to the week for you. I will be back on Monday morning. Hope you guys have a brilliant weekend, and I will see you soon.